over to Sarah.
Hi, everyone. First of all, before I start, I just want to say something about Sam. So when I first got involved with this and I saw what she was doing, I had the same thoughts as a lot of other people. Oh my gosh, we'll never get it ready. Let's do it in May. You can't just do this. The same with talking. I'm like, I don't really have something totally prepared, but I'm like, I'm going to jump in feet first and I'm going to talk about something I'm passionate about, and I'm sure you guys are too, and I'd love any feedback that you have on the thoughts about writing about luxury in the times we're in now. But the reason I applaud her is that a lot of us are sitting around at home sort of frozen, like, what are we going to do? We're at home, we're doing this. But no, let's get on with it. Let's join together as a community and let's boost each other up, which is a little bit what I talk about in my presentation. So just a quick background on me. I focus mostly now on interior design and luxury companies. I have a background where I launched the first branded diamond, Alara Diamonds, which was a pilot program of De Beers diamonds. And so I have a lot of background in that, in brand building, in content creation, in messaging, and now with social media programs and public relations and all. So that's just a little background on me. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about luxury. So this is a quote I love. I mean, I've always loved this quote, but I think it's timely. Luxury must be comfortable, otherwise it is not luxury. So what I think about when I started with diamonds, how they always connected not just the piece of rock or how expensive it was, but it was the emotion. It was things like a diamond is forever, as unique as the woman that wears it was a line I came up with. And I think now more than ever in interior design, people are looking for warmth, they're looking for emotion, and they're looking for comfort. And that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the old idea of luxury is. A sumptuous environment that few could attain. Something that is expensive and not necessary. Or just an indulgence. I think we've moved on from that. I think, these days we define luxury very differently. We're more as designers concerned with authenticity, with materials, with many other things than just it's expensive. So luxury is being redefined. And this is an example of some content creation that I've done with these designer shorts videos and how I got other designers to talk about luxury and bring a different definition to it. So Laura Thurman, who's based in North Carolina, right, Sam? So she in one of her videos came up with thoughtful interiors are luxurious. So I like the idea of thoughtful interiors. It has something behind it. Christina Hank, who is Philadelphia based, said luxury is about the process, which I think, as designers or manufacturers, we all agree with. And she said the process and the love. So that's another wonderful thing for somebody to say about design. And I think really this comes to the point that I feel that design elements appeal to you in a tactile, visual, or emotional way. It's not a hard-edged way of looking at luxury. So I think that's extremely important. So the right words. I struggled with this the first week of the stay-at-homes and all the things. Like, what do you say? You cannot seem to be taking advantage of the COVID-19 situation. That's terrible. So, but on the other hand, you need to be sensitive to it, and you need to be reaching out to people, and as I said, nourishing the senses, the heart and the soul. So that could be a beautiful room. And how does that room make you feel? An emotional response to your home, because we're all gathered at home. So we're all looking for that comfort, and we're looking at a setting in which to gather and feel comforted and be with our family and friends or by ourselves, which is the way things are right now. So that being said, I don't think it's that you can't show luxurious items. I think you can still be inspiring. So a lot of times I'll use something like this spectacular chandelier. And in fact, this is a video on social, a 360 video that's amazing looking. And it's just something for people in their day to be like, oh, wow, that is spectacular. So I don't think you need to avoid showing beautiful, expensive, luxurious things. It's how you present it. So here's another sign of gallery design vignettes. And I just showed these because very often I'll try to give things a name and then also write a little story about the collection. Now, I didn't want to clutter up the page with a lot of text, but there's stories behind each of these vignettes. And again, it's a gathering place. It's something that will appeal to people looking into saying, I could sit there and relax. Oh, Paris Salon, is that like a place where people sit and read poetry or whatever? So that's a way to use images, I think, that's appropriate for right now. And this is super fun. So for Coyote Outdoor, we decided, okay, people are stuck at home. Their vacations have been canceled. They're trying to, motivate their kids to want to be outside and do fun things as a family. So we came up with an idea of doing a virtual journey around the States. And it's basically a staycation in the great backyard, which happens to be your backyard. So we've started it, we've done it for 2 weeks. We've done California, wine and salmon, and let's visit Kansas City, Missouri with some ribs on there. And we show, sort of what you can cook, things to think about, what you can cook them on. And, we're just trying to engage people to not be like, oh my gosh, I'm at home, what am I gonna cook for dinner? So it's just a fun little thing. Another thing that I think is even more important now, and I think, we all in the design industry, we are collaborative. We all really feel for designers as a community. And, so I always believe in celebrating people, but even more so now. So I think a focus is, even if you're a designer or, a manufacturer, is to highlight other designers, to highlight, non-competing designers or different types of products that not in your category. So that can be done in many ways. This one on the left is a spotlight on a website, which shows some products that the designer picked that she particularly liked, and a story about her and how to follow her on her social channels, her website, etc. We also did a newsletter story about her at the same time. Jeannie Chung, if you don't know her, she writes a blog called Cozy Stylish Chic. It's amazing. So it's definitely one to follow if you don't follow her already. And then another thing in the newsletter that we do, it's an Instagram spotlight. So we pick some products, some posts that show specific products that we think are really beautiful. And we highlight the designers who did them with a clickable link back to their social channels. So it's a way of sharing, and it's a way of showing that we appreciate, everyone in the community. I just wanted, while we're talking about being engaging in this time, I wanted to mention some particular people that I think do it well. So I think it would be worthwhile checking out what they're doing, and I'll give you a little reason why. I think so. Shay Gere is one. She's based in Dallas. This month she's doing a 30-day challenge where people present different things in a room, and then you're entered in to win something, but it's done in a really interesting way to keep people active at home. Benjamin Johnston, I adore. He's got a great sense of voice in his social. So if you're interested in how people use their tone, I would definitely recommend checking out his Instagram. Shayla Kopis is another one. She does wonderful Instagram, great Facebook Live. She's very engaging. She lets people into her life. Robear Couturier is a little bit of an older generation. He's probably one of the most famous interior designers. He wrote the book Designing Paradises. He's worked all over the world on incredible estates. And anyway, he lets everybody into his beautiful Connecticut home, and is very intimate with his dogs and his garden and what he eats and whatever. Anyway, it's a very interesting one, I suggest. Doug Myers, and another one. He's a great artist and interesting. He's a little quirky. And then the one that I think really does a wonderful job in creating a brand is French Country Cottage. She shows amazing things on, flower arranging, beautiful tablescapes. I think she's really amazing. I just suggest these because I know you guys will probably have these slides. I mean, I would just check out how these people are navigating their content right now. And just some final thoughts for what I've been discussing. I think that now we really have to think about the words and images, and that we want to lift people up in this time. We want to inspire them. We want to have words that resonate with them. And in another note, sort of what I've talked about previously, is we need a touch of humanity and gratitude, which means being grateful for other designers in the community, being grateful for people who are design enthusiasts, and really letting them know that, highlighting them, not only talking about ourselves all the time, whether you be a brand or a designer. And then again, what I've touched on is how design makes you feel. You know, that's the underlining thread for me, because this is all about emotion, you know, especially at a time like this. We're not talking about hard numbers of how expensive your project was or whatever. We're talking about feelings. And so in that, you know, bringing it back to the beginning, luxury really has to become thoughtful. It has to become comfortable, and it has to become inclusive. So, you know, I really think those are things to take away from this, and I'd love to know anyone else's thoughts on those subjects. So I do creative content and virtual strategies for brands and designers. I have 2 case studies at John Richard Collection at Cottage. That's their Instagram, but you can find them there on Facebook as well. If you're interested, I've put down my contact information. For anyone that's attending Virtual Market, I'm offering a 30-minute free strategy call for your marketing, your content, and I'm happy. Just reach out to me. I'm available. You know, I'll make myself as available and convenient as I can.
I love that. I'll let folks type in questions. I have a few questions. I'm a business owner as well. We've been focusing on high quality decor, supporting brands who have high quality decor. So there are a lot of things that, as far as marketing and presence, that we have had to stop. We had to sit. We had to think what puts the best foot forward. And kind of what I was pulling from what you were saying, I love the idea of celebrating people, especially with being so isolated. So would you recommend to brands maybe reach into past relationships that they've had, re-engage, highlight, find ways to elevate those individuals now?
Absolutely. So there's 2 prongs to what you just said. First of all, I think what you've done with Virtual Market is a perfect example of engaging the community and reaching out and saying, here, we're at this moment in time. I'm going to have you put up a board. It's going to be a virtual market. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty damn great, because we're all going to jump in here and see what we can do. So yes, and in terms of engaging people, you know, I've started doing that. I reached out to a couple of designers, Michelle Wiebe, who's like the style spotter emeritus for High Point Market, because I like her. So I just emailed her. I'm like, you know what? I always thought you're just got a great style and you're very articulate, and I'd like to do a big article and highlight on you. So that's to the point of what you're saying, is like, when we're in this time, yes, reach out to all your contacts. You know, if you're a designer, reach out to some of the manufacturers and see if you can collaborate on some content. You know, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think one of the things too, I mean, Virtual Market, luckily pulling this together, it seems like it's going really well. So I'm excited about that. But one of the things as a brand that I noticed, I'm not sure if you noticed as well, is just a struggle to even break through the noise of everything that's happening right now. Do you have any suggestions or tips? Is it just stick with what you've done previously, or is there anything as far as marketing that should be maybe a slight pivot?
One thing I've done, because yes, you're correct with that. One thing I've done to try to, not every post, but, you know, I've used some 360 video that really looks pretty spectacular, like that chandelier, where people are like, whoa, because it's moving around and it's, you know, it's amazing looking. Another thing I've done is I have some very good video, we call them designer shorts, where we have 2 or 3 designers talking about different subjects. One was last market was on defining luxury. And so I've been using those and interspersing those because they're interesting. So they're not just a blank, you know, design gallery shot.
I love that. And Jen has a question for you. Jen, I promoted you to a panelist, so if you want to speak on camera, you have the opportunity to do so.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. Thank you. That was an interesting, like, arrival.
Transition? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, this is such like really, really good content. And I have a question for you about specifically the idea of luxury, whereas in normal times, there's like an element of luxury because you talked a lot about creating like inclusivity in your messaging.
Yeah.
And normally we talk about, well, luxury kind of is a little bit exclusive sometimes. So how would you speak to companies who want to maybe emphasize right now that good design makes you feel good? It is a luxury in life without like losing the real like target market of that luxury customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes it's a smart question. I think what you do is you keep it inclusive, that everyone enjoys beautiful design and beauty, and then you talk about those specifics that set you apart as a brand. So whether that may be the materials, whether it may be the details, whether it may be the artisanal quality, or you talk about what makes it elevated without saying this is only for an elevated audience, because your audience is already going to be following you, but you don't want to, especially in this time, appear like, oh, we're an elitist, like we only understand elite design. But I think you do bring out all those details that make you a luxury brand. You don't lose that.
Yeah, I think, Jen, that's a great point too, and this was a question I actually asked earlier in the day as well, and Sarah, I think you're a perfect person to talk to about this, is especially in a time where with business, it's so important, honestly, to generate revenue and figure out what works right now. Is this a time to expand your target market, expand the people who are coming in? And if you do so, does that, is it off-putting to your existing clientele? Any suggestions there?
I think, to be honest, if you're at a certain price point, like you have a customer base that's for that price point. I don't think you can change that unless you're going to make, different type of lines. Right. The one thing that I also thought I would mention, because this goes more to the brass tacks of ordering and keeping your business going, which I think you are hinting at there, is for John Richard, we've started a social amplification program for existing customers. And what we're doing there is we're having them post certain images that there's a criteria for it, and then also to send in video, and then we're going to choose from that, and we're going to be doing a lot of it. We're going to highlight a designer and a store every week, and we're going to do something else with the video, and it involves discounts, and it's pretty layered, but that's something we're doing on the more specific business side.
I love that. So brands who haven't been traditionally this forward with maybe like webinars or live social media. I'll be honest, I haven't done a bunch of Instagram live. I know I really should have been that person. I know Jen's probably really good at it too. Is this the time that you say, even though we're in a crisis situation, we figure out how to work in those types of mediums? And what do you suggest is the most important thing that people start doing now?
Well, I think first of all, something like this where you're like, as I said in the beginning, tying it back to the beginning, I'm not ready. Well, you better be ready. Jump in. If you say something that's not exactly how you'd like to message it, it doesn't matter. It's a conversation. You're engaging with people in the community, in the industry. So that's what I would say. And yes, in terms of, there's certain people that do Instagram Live extremely well. And I really do need to get better at it myself, to be honest.
Me too.
And there's people I look at Shayla Copus is very good. The woman I mentioned there, she's very good on Instagram Live. So I would recommend that people find, someone they want to emulate and watch what they're doing and watch their content.
Yeah, especially with interior designers and brands. And I think the folks who you mentioned are perfect examples. I think some of the concern, especially from brands, are, I don't have access to the typical tools that I have to promote or even capture new content. So do you have suggestions for folks who are like, I don't have the 3D or the 360 video?
Well,
What should I do?
Yeah. That's a specific thing to us. I mean, we're very lucky. We have our own videographer and we have a very good photography department for that client. So, I mean, they have it. So, I don't think you have to. I mean, these days, such good content can be done on an iPhone or an Android, and people understand in these times. They're not looking for polished video. I mean, everybody, like, look at Seth Meyers or Jimmy Fallon. Got kids crawling all over them. Things are happening. So I think we all have to not try to be perfect, like you said in your thing. Like, let's see what sort of content we can capture now and repurpose some of the content that we have and maybe find an interesting theme to it. But yeah, I think, be brave, be different, try some different things, but don't worry about having it perfect, especially on social,
Yeah, definitely agreed. I think one of the things that when we were thinking about our messaging, what we struggled with was, how much do you even mention COVID? Is it something that, like, it's such a downer and everyone is living in this downer like life outside all the time. So how do you recognize that it's hard, but also try to tear away from that, like, honestly depressing topic?
I think one of the worst things that I've read on social is when people look as if they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like they're setting themselves up to try to influence you or whatever by saying, in this situation with everyone dying and this and that, and they start the beginning of their post like, stay safe. I just feel, to me, when I read that, it doesn't sound authentic.
Yeah. How do you go break through that? Because obviously there's an element of that you feel that you want people to stay safe. Is it more so just don't focus on what your messaging is?
I do it subtly. I do things like, the thing that I mentioned about Coyote with the staycation in your backyard. Well, everybody knows why they're having a staycation, because they can't leave their house. So, but that's not saying because of COVID, you have to do a virtual thing around the world. It's just like inferring it. And the same thing, if I'm showing design, it's like, while you're sheltering, or like, while, like, just not like because of COVID, you have, I don't think it sounds good when you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I love that. I think, when I had the idea for Virtual Market, I pitched it to a few people before I even pitched it to the world, because my biggest concern was, I hope no one thinks I'm ambulance chasing, is kind of
Right.
the expression, the taking it. I always wanted to have this to support everyone, but there's such a fine line of support. And if you're worried about that, it's almost, it'll freeze you, or you won't act at all. So is there any like checks and balances? What do you recommend? I know you have your 30 minutes that people can speak with you too, which is like probably the best route to go. But how do you, as a group, push forward?
I think if you offer people things, I think that's a key. So I think when you said to manufacturers, which first caught my eye, you said, I'm going to give you a board to exhibit. Well, they're like, hell yeah, I'd like to do that. That'd be great. I'm not going to market, it'd be fun to see what people think. And so I think when you offer something of yourself, that, that makes the big difference.
I think if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. One of the other questions that I had is, do you have a regular messaging system of cadence that you've always had in this time where everyone's at home, maybe a little bit more bored than usual? Do you pump up how much communication do you do, or do you stay the course?
Maybe pump it up a bit because they're home.
Okay. And do that through email or through social, or is it all?
Social.
Okay.
Social.
I love that. And probably, and just again, referring or inferring from what we did, finding ways to collaborate with others, finding ways. I love the idea of having a recipe tied to different places that you're seeing, the Coyote Outdoor. Yep. I think that's excellent, because if you're anything like me, I meal planned for 6 weeks. So recipes are getting a little light, and I enjoy that.
Absolutely.
I love it. Is there anything, just not to go too negative, or we'll go both ways. Is there anything that you've seen from other brands that you're like, that is perfect. I would love to emulate that, or any missteps that you're like, definitely avoid.
Well, a couple of the missteps would be either people talking about COVID-19 in the beginning of their posts as if they're an authority or something, which is what I said, where I think it feels to me like they're taking advantage because they're not like a TV anchor, or they're not like an expert. So I think when they're too obvious about it, that bothers me. Something that I've seen is when people realize that people are home alone and they may be bored and they may want to do things, that they are offering something, which comes back to what we just said. So that was sort of the example I gave about Shay Gere, who did this 30-day challenge, which I thought was very clever. And, you know, she's very well liked, and, you know, it's fun. It's something for people to do now that they're sitting at home. So those would be two examples that I've seen of, you know, bad and good.
I love that. No, one more, I'm going to keep saying one more question. Let's say there's an issue. You're an interior designer who can't like finish a project because it's stalled, or a product hasn't come in because the manufacturer said it's stuck somewhere, or you're a brand whose product line was supposed to release next week and it's also not moving forward. What tone, how do you convey that to your followers or to the people who's made purchases? Is there a strategy in place that you would recommend to have those conversations, or a tone to have for those conversations?
Well, most of those new introductions that may be caught on the water or just got here or whatever, people haven't seen a lot of those, so they haven't been ordered per se. So I think, I mean, for that particular client, the way we're handling it is we're showing a couple of sneak peeks that are fun of new things, but then we're waiting to release the the overall collection with the messaging and all of that. We're waiting a little bit, and we're engaging people through themes of using existing product, but surrounding new, fresh themes with that product to make it, you know, seem new again. You know, fun themes that we're going to incorporate into social.
I love it. I love it. That's as far as authority at these different organizations. Are you, gosh, the first week of COVID, I feel like I saw every CEO known to man from companies that I'm like, I didn't even know I followed you as a company, send out some sort of messaging. Is there an authority at any of the brands that you feel like should not only be present at the beginning, but present pretty consistently? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think number one, it's important to be upfront with your customers. So if there are delays and if there are things happening, which with my two clients, they did right away, sort of to let people know what's happening, you know, that we're thinking of you, you know, that tone of concern, and this is where we stand right now, and it's an evolving situation, so nobody really knows.
Yeah, well, I love it. I'm going to show your contact information one more time, just so everyone has it. I'll make sure in the follow-up information that I do have a link to it as well, so everyone can see it. Hopefully you can see my screen. There it is. Struggle town over here. Here's the contact information for Sarah. I thought this was amazing. Is there any final note that you'd like to give everyone who's watching?
You know, I really like, you know, meeting people even by phone or by email, and, you know, chatting with them about what their challenges are and what they're doing. And, you know, that's why I decided that it would be great just to offer a 30-minute, you know, call just to chat, see where they're at, what they want to do. And mainly as a thank you for you putting this all together and, you know, just wanting to connect with people.
I love it. Thank you so much for honestly your insights as well as the offer. I think that's phenomenal, especially now when people are especially needing resources that they didn't think that they would need. Everything's surprising. Everything, I keep mentioning that it feels like the Wild West as far as how our thought processes are and what's right and what's wrong. There really isn't a book that you can lean on right now. So coming together with different advisors to figure out the best path forward is honestly the best thing that any of us as business owners, interior designers, or students could do right now. So I'm very grateful to you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
And the other thing,
Oh, go ahead.
Sam, if anyone just has a question they think of afterwards, please feel free to email me, even if it's just a question. I'm happy to answer all emails.
I love it. That's perfect. Thank you, Sarah. And for everyone else who's watching, we have another 9 more sessions tomorrow and Wednesday. Check out vision.co/virtual market to see all of the sessions, a variety of topics, some related to COVID, some completely not, because we didn't want to talk about that the whole time. Definitely check out the exhibits at vision.co. You can see the app, or vision.co/virtual market. You can see the exhibits are all listed there, so you technically don't have to download the app. We've made sure to post them so you can see everything through a URL. I appreciate all of you for taking the time. This is our last session of the day, so thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Jen, for the question. I hope all of you stay safe. Contact Sarah if you have any questions, and definitely reach out to us if there's anything that you guys need at all. We appreciate you, and everyone have a great day. Thanks, guys.
You too, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.